If you or a loved one are downsizing from a luxury house, this video is definitely for you because we're going to walk through the steps of what to consider and what to do when downsizing a property, especially a luxury property here in Orange County, such as Newport Coast or Corona de Mar, or maybe even Newport Beach, because it's not always about downsizing from luxury. Sometimes a house is just too big and it doesn't make sense. So we're going to walk through everything, and I want it to be value add, so I can't give legal or tax advice, but there's definitely some tax things to consider when walking through these steps. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Step one is to define your next lifestyle, because again, you're not downsizing because you can't necessarily afford or anything like that, right? It just is too big of a house. So you want to define what that next chapter is going to mean for you, and then tailor your home purchasing decision around that lifestyle. And if you're not really sure, this is actually something that I love to do with my clients. So we could sit down and map out all of the different potentials as far as different places to live, what makes sense. Do we want stairs? Do we want no stairs at all? Do we want to be in a high-end luxury community that maybe has some assistance in different ways, either on a full capacity or just a limited in some ways? Do we want to be completely independent? Like we will run through all the options, so that way we know exactly what the game plan is going to be before we even get to the point of looking to buy the house after we sell your current house. The second step is important, and that is to understand your true net proceeds. And yeah, your net proceeds, not just your gross profit. This is going to include everything from your capital gains, and I do have tax advisors who I recommend meeting with. If you have someone, great, but we definitely need to get someone so that way we can maximize things like Prop 19, or essentially maybe even a few different strategies to make sure that we're maximizing or minimizing how much taxes you're going to be paying on capital gains. We're going to break down what you'll be paying in commissions from the buy side to the list side and everything else. And then also making sure that we have everything from additional fees, from closing costs, and also timing, because timing is going to be important. And making sure that we have everything outlined so that way you are able to move confidently with a clear direction as far as what the next step is going to be and exactly how much we could afford. Are we going to be paying in cash for the next property? Are we going to be leveraging this house to buy something nicer but maybe smaller, so we're going to get a loan, which I have great mortgage loan officers for that if that's the case. We just want to really map out what the lifestyle is going to be, and then step two, make sure we know exactly how much we're going to be able to play with. Step three is going to be pretty simple, and that is just going to be outlining all of the downsizing options, as I slightly mentioned before. And this is going to be, do we want to go to a facility that is going to provide full end care, full assistance? Do we want to go to something that's maybe a little bit less hands-on but still offers some assistance, or maybe have really good amenities? Or do we want to go to something that's completely independent? And if we go to something completely independent, if it's a loved member of your, or love family member of yours, do you want help with finding someone that would be able to actually come to the house and stuff like that? Now, that's not a service that I provide, but I'm connected and I would love to be able to sit down and map that out, and I'm happy to make phone calls and kind of start vetting through that process for you guys, especially if you're out of state, just to make the downsizing process from A to Z as easy, smooth, and clear as possible, so that way you guys are able to move with complete confidence and move swiftly, because I know timing is of the essence. Step four might seem kind of odd, but it's really going to be, for some people, not all, does renting make sense? I mean, just because you sold the property at a certain age and you want to downsize, you might not want to buy. You might want to sit on that money and take it and travel, or do something unique with it and just rent in the meantime. So that is an option too. And again, like I said, we'll map out all the downsizing options and exploring renting options. I mean, I'm a big believer in buying if you can afford to buy, especially just because in California, if you buy a property 10 years later, that home is going to appreciate. You could argue the cost of the mortgage and everything else, but you can't argue the appreciation here. But if it makes more sense to rent, let's look down that avenue and see if it does make sense for you or not. If it doesn't make sense, then obviously we won't explore that option. I just think it's good to at least look at all of the possibilities and then do what makes sense for you. Step five is going to come to the actual house, and that's going to be prepping it strategically and bringing it to the market strategically, making sure that we have a full marketing campaign, but at the same time making sure that we have everything dialed in, so that way when we actually bring it to the market, we can get the price that we want. But more importantly, we're not doing it in a way where you're either yourself or your loved ones are feeling rushed or feeling additional stress because selling a house, especially a primary residence, is already emotional. And if your loved one needs a little bit of time, obviously we're going to work around that and we're going to map everything out. So from the photos and the videos and the marketing campaign that we'll put together, from a pre-listing to a active listing campaign, and everything else, making sure that we're able to coordinate showings. I'll actually be there for showings and everything else. So we'll map this out strategically, but doing it in a way that it's going to relieve stress, not add stress to you and your family. Step 6, as I mentioned, is to go ahead and start blasting this thing everywhere, getting as many eyes on this house, and then making sure that we're able to present the house because let's face it, most people imagine themselves already at a property before they even step inside of a property physically. So from the online presentation, from the photos to the videos to the ads, the print campaigns that we'll send out to high-end properties, or community blast to invite people to open houses and stuff like that. We'll do a grand open house. We'll get this thing seen. We'll roll out the marketing campaign, doing it in a way where you know exactly what step is gonna be coming next and what step we're currently on, and then at the same time providing you weekly updates so you know what's going on, so that way we could get a great offer on the property, get that property under contract, and then get it sold, so that way we can move on to the next step, which is going to be actually buying or renting a smaller property and downsizing. The one thing I do want to add on there too is with privacy, so just making sure things like family photos or making sure that anything that we need to coordinate around is done strategically, but also swiftly, to make sure that we not only maintain the effectiveness of the campaign, but ensure that you and your family have the privacy that you guys also want and need to. Step 7 is more kind of a tip, but that's to time everything around your life, not necessarily the holidays. Obviously, there's certain times in the year that are much more ideal to sell the property, but if you need to sell the property, don't wait a couple of months or a full year until you need to actually sell the property just because you think timing is going to be better. I mean, one of the things that I have noticed is if you need to sell the property, as long as you price it strategically, but price it right and market it and present it right, you're going to be able to get a great price for that house regardless of what time of the year it is. So again, let's time everything around your family and your needs, not necessarily the holidays and what the best time of year to sell a house, if you get what I'm saying. If we have the ability to sell it in springtime or summer, then fantastic, but you get what I'm saying. The thing I want to close on is downsizing does not mean downgrading. It's working effectively and working smarter. Just because you're in a current house that is massive doesn't mean that you need to stay in a current massive house. And there's ways that we could even rent out that house so we could keep it in the family, because I'm a big believer in renting out properties, especially if it's paid off or you have a low interest rate. But there's things that we'll need to also discuss, such as Prop 19, if it does become an investment property, if you have kids and you want them to inherit that property in the future, and what that basically means for the property tax as far as what it's assessed at. So, but again, there's different ways that we could go about this, but the biggest thing is just making sure that there's a clear game plan, and then reverse engineer in the sense of define everything by the lifestyle that you want, have a clear outline to where you're wanting to end up as far as getting into a new community or a certain area, and what that really means, and what downsizing is going to mean for you. Is it going to be something nicer but just smaller? Is going to be a single story, and just making sure you have that clear picture, then making sure you know exactly how much you're going to make off the sale of the house, and working with an agent like myself and a pretty good tax advisor and CPA, which I have a couple of recommendations if you don't have one, to ensure that you're minimizing the amount of taxes that you're going to be selling or paying on this property, and then moving swiftly into the next home, and also ideally rolling that tax base over from your current property into your new home. So there's different things that I want to outline and just make sure that people actually take care of when it comes to downsizing their current property, because as I just said a little bit ago, downsizing does not mean downgrading. So if you're thinking about making a move and you want to walk through your next chapter, my name is Jarrett Richards. I'm an agent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, California Properties here in Newport Beach, and I would love to be able to talk with you. So shoot me a text, call me at 949-405-4455, or hit that like button, leave a question in the comments below, subscribe to this channel. I'm putting out more real estate content just like this every week.